Hi there, I'm Jim Gordon.
And I'm Lita Leapins.
And welcome to another edition of Our City Tonight.
We're here at Hubcast Studios, home of our production partners in Vancouver.
That's right, big show coming up. Before we get to that, though, Lita, you've got some jewelry you want to talk about.
I just want to say my mom gave me this beautiful owl, and it was her birthday month. She gives me gifts during my birthday month. But anyways, happy birthday, Mom. We got a big show coming up, so we should get right to.
Hang on a second. I got this tie from my mom. Actually, I want to give her a shout out if we're going to do that. There we go. Thank you, Mom, for the tie. And it's not a clip-on. Okay, now we can get to the show. Say what you got to say.
All right, let's get right to...
Oh, Our City Tonight.
He's an actor, comedian, writer, and since 2019, he's spokesperson with Jon Hamm for Skip the Dishes commercials here in Canada. And his new film is called Clive Boomer's Success. We want to welcome Monty Geer, who lives in LA, but he's from Washington State.
Monty, welcome to the show.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Doing well, pal. Hey, listen, we got lots to talk about because you've got a lot going on, which is great to see in a young actor, writer, and everything on that front. Let's talk about, well, a lot of people know you here in our country for the Skip the Dishes commercial you do with Mad Men's Jon Hamm. They're very funny. They keep funny and funny. You guys haven't lost the funny, that's for sure. But talk a bit about the casting, because our director Adam told us that there's a thing where everyone thought you were Jon Hamm's son.
Yeah, I do look a lot like him. It was funny because the commercial, the auditions was just all improv because we shoot a lot of improv anyway. So they would be like, hey, think of a situation where you're like working out with a celebrity and he's not really pushing on the weights. And I was like, okay, so they'll just improvise this whole thing. And then so we did like 10 minutes of just improv. And then the callback, I come back and they don't tell us who the celebrity is because it's like a secret. And I come back and everyone looks like Seth Rogen. Like they all have like a huge beard and like big thick glasses and they're like short and stout. And then there's me and they tell me the actor I'm acting with is Jon Hamm. And I'm like, well, great. You know, clearly they want someone the complete opposite looking as Jon Hamm with like, you know, the nerdy bearded assistant. But then they just love my comedy so much. And then they thought it was funny if like Jon like hired someone who looked like him because he was so like vain and selfish that he'd be like, he wants someone to surf on him who also looks just like him. Yeah.
Now, Monty, you started out making YouTube videos with friends, doing stand-up comedy, but you've been involved in the industry for over a decade. Is this something you started out, set out to do from the start?
Yeah, I mean, I'm from Washington State, so it's a really small town. It's Snohomish. It's like farmlands and like antique stores. So there's no industry at all here. So when I was young, I was like shooting stuff with my friends all the time. And then I was 16, I moved to New York during my summers to go to the New York Film Academy and learn comedy and acting and writing and directing stuff. And then, when I was 18, I went to New York permanently to go to NYU. And there I did tons of stand-up. I was a fax monologue writer for Late Night with Jimmy Fallon. So I was like an intern, and at the same time, I was like writing jokes for the monologue on my phone. So I'd be like going around like 30 Rock, like delivering coffee to like SNL and stuff while I'm like typing like jokes in my phone for the monologue jokes that morning. And I wrote for like College Humor and did lots of stand-up. And then came to LA and booked a lot of acting jobs like Awkward and stuff like that. So yeah, it's definitely been something I've been focused on for a long time and have been in a lot of trying to get into the industry any way I can. Like I used to be like script reader and stuff and did transcripts for talk shows for Broadway Videos, which is NBC's editing company. So like on talk shows, I would listen to what they say and type it in just to get closer to TV in that way. So I've definitely tried to get in lots of different routes.
Hey, I'd like to see, as we said off the opening, it's great when you see somebody doing as many different things. You need as many things in your toolkit to survive in the business long term. Let's talk, you mentioned acting. Let's talk about your new movie, Clive Boomer's Success. I guess I thought it was done, but you told us just before we went on that COVID obviously brought a halt to a lot of things in the industry, and so you guys are still working on this movie. Tell us about this new film of yours.
Yeah, we were supposed to shoot it in like March last year, and then it got pushed back like 8 months. And now we filmed like most of it during the summer. We shot in Toronto, and then we have 1 page of filming left. It's a scene that takes place in Cuba, and because of COVID, Cuba is still closed. So we have to wait to shoot basically 3 lines of dialogue, which is the epilogue of the movie. But yeah, it's a film about a stand-up comic. And he gets involved in the mob. It's a drama, but I'm a stand-up comic, so I'm still funny in the drama. But it's basically a fish out of water situation of a stand-up who has to like end up working for the mob and like kill someone for the mob, but he doesn't want to because he owes them money. And it's a very dramatic and funny film that hopefully once COVID's over, we could finish.
Now, Monty, you're still doing stand-up, right?
Yeah, I mean, in LA, I'm not. When I was shooting Clive Boomer's Success in Toronto, I'd be doing stand-up every night, and we'd be on set for like 12 hours that day, and then I would go do a stand-up show, go home, sleep for 4 to 6 hours, and then wake up again, shoot all day, do another stand-up show. Mainly because also my character is a stand-up comic, like I said, and I had to do all jokes for him and his life, you know? So I had to test all these new jokes out while filming the movie. So that was a fun experience.
Hey, listen, we should encourage our viewers to check you out online. You're very active on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, of course. We'll have all Monty's information in the closing credits. We'll look for the movie, Clive Boomer's Success, hopefully later this year or early into 2022. And of course, the Skip the Dishes commercials. Keep doing those. They are just consistently funny. Monty Geer, thanks for joining us on Our City Tonight.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me.
Cheesecake in the kitchen, cheesecake sleeping next to you. But don't try to eat the cheesecake.
She is a television veteran with over 20 years of on-air experience. She's hosted cooking and real estate shows along with over 25,000 hours of live television in major media markets, including Vancouver, where she was a part of City TV, and also their breakfast show for 13 years. She's also been seen in a large group of movies, if you spot her in those movies. We are welcoming Dawn Chubey, who is currently a host on the Shopping Channel. Welcome, Dawn.
Oh, so glad to see you guys.
Dawn, it's really good to see you. Of course, we all hung out together back in normal times and when you lived here. Tell us about what a day in the life is for you since making the move, I think in 2017, to Toronto with your family and your work on the Shopping Channel.
Yeah, so I mean, I started off working mornings at TSC, but now my typical day kind of starts at around 2 in the afternoon where we have meetings to talk about what's happening that night. And then I am working, selling everything from vacuums to fire pits to makeup to Curtis Stone cookware for our launch hours at TSC. So it's super fun.
Now, Dawn, how has COVID affected your work on the Shopping Channel?
Well, we've lost our makeup artists, unfortunately, hair and makeup. So we've all had to become a little bit more of an expert when it comes to getting the mug all ready for sure. But for the most part, a lot of our guests now are via Skype. But other than that, kind of the same thing.
Dawn, you've been doing this a long time, as we all have. Talk a bit about how you've seen the landscape change. We had your former colleague and a good friend of all of ours, Thor Dyke, was on our show a few weeks ago, and we were talking about the same thing, about stuff you weren't doing, say, 15 years ago, you're doing now. Talking about social media and self-promotion, all that stuff. How have you found things for you as your career has progressed over the last 2 decades?
Well, I think as somebody who works on air, whereas typically we would have relied on, a lot of people to execute a segment, for instance, a lot of us are now doing digital work on our own. So where we become the producer, we become the talent, the on-air person, we become hair and makeup, and we become shooters and editors. So I think all of us have had to pivot, as we like to call it, but really stretch our skills. And I'm not sure that's a bad thing. I think having an understanding for what our colleagues do, I think, is also really important, but we all have become definitely more well-versed in things that are beyond the on-camera.
Now, Dawn, you're quite accomplished in media training, on-camera work. That's become so much more significant these days as executives have to be on camera. So can you share a little bit about what you do there?
Yeah, so I mean, where I have always, trained a lot of lifestyle types of, guests, from chefs to real estate professionals to personal trainers to makeup artists. I've done a lot of that with the in-person type of interview in mind. But as we are doing a lot more on Skype, on Zoom, I've actually pivoted and also started training virtually because there's so much more to consider, from backgrounds to lighting to how you're going to actually execute an interview on video. So it's interesting to see, again, that become a lot more well-rounded.
Hey, Dawn, some people may not know this about you, but for as long as we've known you, which is a long time, you're actually an award-winning, accomplished jazz singer, and you have played with the late but great, legendary Dal Richards when you're out here. Let's talk a bit about your music career.
Well, I certainly have had a long music career, which actually ended up starting my television career back when I was in Edmonton in 1999. But since that time, of course, I was able to release 2 CDs. The first one I did win that Best Jazz Artist for the Alberta Recording Industry Association. And yeah, performing with Dal and certainly the Vancouver Symphony Orchestra and so many great musicians has been something that I've been super, super proud of. Unfortunately, out here, now that we're into that pandemic mode, it's been hard to kind of get back into that. But my love of music, as you can see, still strong.
That's wonderful. Now, Dawn, thanks again for joining us. We miss you here in Vancouver. They're lucky to have you out in Toronto. Jim's from that area, so he's got a lot of friends.
Yeah, I guess they probably laugh at us when you talk about how frightened we get when we get a little bit of snow out here, Dawn, compared to back east.
Yeah. Well, my time in Edmonton, I also laugh at the folks out in Toronto when they complain about the bit of snow and the -10. So, I mean, it's all relative. Listen, I miss you guys a ton. I miss all my Vancouver friends out there, but stay in touch on social. It's how we're all connecting, right?
That's right. Sure will, Dawn. Hey, we'll have all Dawn's information, including her website. You get more information on media training, as Lita mentioned. That's a big thing nowadays. Dawn, thank you for joining us on Our City Tonight.
Thank you so much, guys.
We are here at Black and Blue, one of the great restaurants that is part of the global group of restaurants. We're on the second floor. You get to enjoy 3 great levels in this establishment. But today we're here with Angus Porter, who is the bar manager and mixologist extraordinaire here at Black and Blue. We're so excited to have you back on the show.
Another second time.
Yeah, it's been, I think 3.5 years since you've been on the show. You kind of found yourself back here, or here I should say. We discovered you here one day and said, oh, you're back, great. You've got a whole new list of cocktails. We're going to talk about the patio, reopened in a bit, but let's get right into the cocktails because you've created a whole bunch of them for the customers that are coming into this great restaurant.
Excellent, yeah, thank you so much. So starting with number 1, this one here is called the Date Night Caipirinha, and it uses a mix of homemade strawberry vodka. What we do here is we wanted to do something unique, and we decided to go down the idea of making our own in-house flavored spirits. So we have stuff like the strawberry vodka, which is used for this. We made a homemade rosemary gin, which is used for one of the drinks. A lemongrass tequila is used in another one. So we wanted to have like a whole array of flavors. This is the one that I think you'd really, really like. So it's the strawberry vodka cut together with chocolate liqueur, some freshly squeezed lime, and a bunch of shaved ice, all to create this Date Night Caipirinha. Name comes from the ideas of chocolates and strawberries together.
Very romantic.
Thank you so much.
Number 2, your second drink.
Number 2 is this one here. So this is called the Casanova, obviously after you, Jim.
Oh, yes, of course, thank you.
Interesting.
What would be in the drink named after me?
So it actually uses a gin from Quebec, which is a distiller called Romeo's. And Romeo's makes this amazing gin, which is so full of flavor, it's so robust, and it has such unique botanicals within it. I really wanted to use it in a cocktail, so we used the Romeo's gin, Chambord, which is a black raspberry liqueur. It uses egg whites to give it this really nice foam on top, and it gives the drink a real silky kind of like mouthfeel.
Yeah.
And it also uses rose syrup, and it's garnished with some dehydrated edible rose petals as well.
Beautiful. I just want to mention, these are all your creations.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's so amazing. Okay, third drink.
Third drink we have is our rosé sangria. So we wanted to have a really nice, summery, fresh sangria for the roof. And what we did was we put together fresh apple juice, grapefruit juice. We used cherry brandy and Alizé Red, which is a passion fruit liqueur. And we also use a really nice rosé from France. And to give it some real freshness and a really nice kind of a uniqueness, instead of just ice, we also freeze strawberries and we freeze grapes. And we use that for the garnish as well. So it imparts a really nice flavor. It chills the drink, but it also makes it kind of unique as well.
Yeah, and doesn't dilute it.
Doesn't it? Exactly.
And I love this because even though there's two of them, our last drink, I know Lita and I are going to be fighting over both.
Yeah.
Our last drink, oh, this looks so good. And it matches your blazer, which is great, or your suit, I should say. What's last, Angus?
So this one here, we wanted to elevate our gin and tonic game. So what we did was we looked at the Spanish method, and the Spanish method is when instead of just lime with your gin and tonic, every botanical, every herb, it's designed to accentuate what gin you're drinking. So this one here is the Empress from Victoria, which is one of my personal favourite gins. And what we did was we cut that together with fresh juniper berries, there's dried cranberries in there, there's dehydrated lime, there's a rosemary sprig, and there's also some grapefruit bitters. So all of that in here creates what we're wanting to be known for as doing the best gin and tonic in the city.
Wonderful.
And this is this one here. So this is the Empress Gin and Tonic.
Well, all of your cocktails look like floral arrangements, and that goes hand in hand with the new renos up on the roof. Tell us what's happening up on the roof.
Glad to. So the roof, there's been some exciting changes. What we decided to do was go for fresh salads, for proteins, show-stopping seafood towers, black and blue classics you can get up there, and also we have a Josper wood fire grill, which is completely unique. As with the Killer Patio, there's a selection of familiar and signature cocktails, case in point these guys too. People coming up to the roof can enjoy a brand new warm and welcoming atmosphere, including the soft wood plank flooring, tons of greenery, wooden feature wall with floating candles, foliage everywhere. It almost looks like the Garden of Eden is what we were going for up there. It's extremely photo worthy, so make sure you have a lot of free space in your phones when you arrive. And yeah, we just wanted to create something extremely unique, fresh, and just someplace that people could come and have a nice drink and a nice meal, because I think everyone's looking for something these days.
Perfect. Now, they're also going to be open for dinner and lunch daily, as well as your great happy hour that is 2:30 to 5:30 every day.
Yes, absolutely.
So, wonderful.
Hey, it's been great to have you on the show again. It's been a while. We cannot wait to dive into all of these cocktails. You're here all the time. We'll have all of Angus's information and all his stuff, and I guess the website and everything for Black and Blue in our closing credits. Thank you again, pal, and thanks to all the staff for welcoming us here to this great spot. Come check it out on Alberni. Anything else, Lita?
I was just going to say, very popular on the rooftop, so definitely call or go online for reservations.
Yeah, get a reservation. He had already been in the business, the TV business that is, about a decade before he came to the Vancouver TV scene in 1969 and was there for a number of decades, well over 30 years. He has covered it all. We're going to let him tell more about that in a second. Continuing with our Media Icon series here in Canada, it is a great pleasure to welcome legendary sportscaster Bernie Pascal. Bernie, welcome to our city tonight.
Yeah, hi Jim, hi Lita, and thanks for the invitation. Nice to be with you.
You're welcome.
We're thrilled to have you.
Bernie, let's talk a bit about the sports scene. You've seen it all. I was saying to you before we were on, I mean, if you're a sports fan, everybody's got their favorite moments. And I'm thinking about 72 and 87 Canada Cup and Kirk Gibson in 88 and even Joe Carter in 93 and some of the not so great moments with the Canucks in Game 7. But I got to ask you about this one because this is a big moment for me. 1980, Lake Placid. Miracle on ice, where the Americans beat the Russians, and I think that really helped hockey get bigger in the States. Tell us about covering that.
Yeah, it certainly was exciting, and we did it on CTV across Canada live. ABC did it on a tape delay basis and showed the game in prime time. And I remember when I was doing the play-by-play of that game against Russia and the USA, we were welcoming radio stations throughout the United States that were non-ABC stations. So they would pass me a note, welcome WCCO in Minneapolis, Welcome WGN in Chicago. The radio stations were joining our television play-by-play broadcast. It was a very special, a very emotional night. And our location, it was a small rink in Lake Placid, as you can appreciate. And we were sitting almost right in the stands. And Mark Johnson's mother was right behind us. And Mark got 2 goals in that game. And when he scored, she would hug us. And we're on live television, only the voices at that point. But she apologized after. We said, no need for that. We were all caught up in the excitement. So it was a great memory.
Bernie, you've covered some of the biggest sports events in the world, and that including 6 Olympic events for sure. Again, your stories are fantastic. Share a little bit about those experiences.
Well, at CTV, we did our first Olympics in 1976. We did the Summer and Winter Olympics in 76. The Winter Olympics were in Innsbruck, Austria, and that was an exciting time. But the Summer Olympics, of course, were in Montreal. And CTV's Johnny Esau, who was our president, assigned me to gymnastics. And I thought, well, that's going to be interesting. And I did a lot of research and homework on gymnastics, 1976. And I thought, I'm going to probably get 3 minutes or 4 minutes on the hour or 2-hour telecast each night, because gymnastics is going to be at the bottom of the totem pole. But if you remember the name, Nadia Comaneci, the young Romanian gymnast, she was the story, not only in the gymnastics world, but the whole 1976 Olympics. And I was assigned to cover gymnastics, and we were on the national news, we were on the morning news, we were on Canada AM. She was the big story, so it was really exciting, and I got to know her a little bit. She was only 14 years of age, but in scrums we interviewed her, and to this day we've semi-kept in touch. She never had a banner from the 1976 Olympics, and just about 2 months ago, her agent in an email said, "Do you happen to have one?" I said, "Yes, I do," and I sent it to her, and she's putting it in the Gymnastics Hall of Fame in Oklahoma. So a great story, and boy, she was just outstanding at that 76 games.
Yeah, and I think, Bernie, that was the first time I saw someone get a perfect 10, I think, if I'm not mistaken. It was Nadia Comaneci.
Yes, she had series 10. Yes, she was outstanding. Just dominated the gymnast world, and it was so exciting.
Bernie, you covered the sports. Let's talk about hockey. That's, of course, our big sport in this country. Everyone knows that. Can you talk a bit about how access, players' attitudes, there were fewer PR people blocking between the player, the superstar, and the press. How did you see that change over a period of time from, say, the late 60s into the 2000s?
Well, I think back in the 60s and 70s, media had more access to the players, and you got to know them personally. Today, it's so regimented. They drive their cars into the bottom of the rinks. They are ushered into the dressing rooms. They have scrums after the game. They may have some appearance in the dressing room, but you don't really get to know them one-on-one. I remember back in the 70s, the Dale Tallons, the George Gardners, we'd go golfing with them. We'd have lunch with them. We could go to their homes, their apartments to do interviews, and you got to know them on a first-name basis. And it's all been so different nowadays with television, of course. Every game is televised. Every game is on radio, and the internet has taken over the world too. And it's a whole different atmosphere. But I relish in the fact that we enjoyed those good days. And, we got to meet in Toronto the Bobby Bonds, all the superstars, the Johnny Bowers, the Red Kellys, and got to know them on a first-name basis, and great memories.
Now, Bernie, you covered the first ever Special Olympics event in 1968, and from then on, you've been a great supporter, a great friend. Let's finish up with a little bit of little information on your support with that great event as well.
Well, it was a gentleman in Toronto named Red Foster, who was an advertising executive, his company did a lot of work with CTV and CFTO. And he called me one day at CFTO and said, "Bernie, we're going to charter a plane from the Toronto Maple Leafs, and we're taking a group of young floor hockey players to Chicago for the first Special Olympics. And we'd like you to come along with a cameraman." Well, we checked with our bosses and set it up, And there we were in Harold Ballard's private Learjet, flying off with George Armstrong, who was the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs. This was in July 1968, going to Soldier Field in Chicago. And they had a floor hockey game between the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Chicago Blackhawks. And Stan Mikita was coaching the kids from Chicago. And there we were in the massive Soldier Field that seats 100,000 people. This day there were probably 20,000, but it was just a magnificent experience. And from that day on, in 1968, I always had a desire and appreciation for what the kids did in Special Olympics. And just last year, I was given a special honor saluting 50 years of association with Special Olympics, and something I was very proud of. And I still stay active with them and help any way I can. But other charities too, the Canucks alumni and hospice. And, Walter Gretzky, who just passed away recently, had a big CNIB golf tournament, and I had an opportunity to MC that a few times, and really enjoyed that association with Walter. So it's kind of nice to give back when you have that opportunity.
Hey, Bernie, that's a great way to go out. Big fans of yours for years, sir, and I envy your sports memories and the people that you have met that are legendary in all facets of sport. Bernie, thank you so much for joining us on Our City Tonight. We wish you safety and keep well, coming to us from Vancouver Island.
And thank you, Jim, and all the best, and stay safe.
Thank you, sir. You too.
Well, we're back here at Hubcast Studios, home of our production partners.
And it's time to wrap up the show. Before we leave, as we always do, Lita, where can people find us online and all the social media stuff?
Oh, they can find us at Our City Tonight on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, as well as definitely follow us on our YouTube channel. All our past episodes are available there.
I'm Jim Gordon.
And I'm Lita Leapins.
We'll see you on the next edition of Our City Tonight. He's going to cut to that camera angle right there. There we go. See? Outdoor wear for Jim and Lita provided by Helly Hansen, alive since 1877.
Soluzione Spa Products, a national luxury spa product distribution company located in North Vancouver, British Columbia. They have been successfully supplying and supporting spas across the country since 1991.